You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show. The preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, folks. That makes it official. When the fat lady sings, the opera lady with the iron outfit there you used to see in the Bugs Bunny commercial, that's when you know you've officially rang the bell at the Chris Voss Show. So welcome. Remember, the Chris Voss Show is the family that loves you but doesn't judge you, at least not as harshly as your mother-in-law, because, I don't know, she's sick of you. Anyway, guys, we are going to be talking about vision and a whole lot of amazing, cool things today that we're going to be talking about in inspiring teams, igniting your business, et cetera, et cetera. But in the meantime, we need you to support the show. I mean, for 15 years, we've been bringing you the smartest people on this show, and they've been sharing their wonderful ideas. We're bringing you 3 to 4 episodes weekday, 15 to 20 a week. And I need to guilt and shame you into sharing this love and giving referrals to your family, friends, and relatives to say, sign up for the Chris Voss Show podcast. It's the best thing you'll ever listen to, or not, but sign up anyway. Anyway, guys, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss. And let's see, what else is there? There's the new Chris Voss, facebook.com, where you can go, you can chat with the show and all that good stuff. I get on there. I get on the little chat there, and I'm like, hey, how's everyone going? We have this really cool guest on today, and you guys missed out, eh? So that's the sort of thing that goes on in that chat. There's no Snapchat going on, though. There's no discussion of the Chris Voss Show on Snapchat. So, and there never will be. Anyway, guys, we have an amazing gentleman on the show. He's going to be joining us to talk about vision and all of the sort of wonderful things that you can possibly do. We have Jim Ballidis on the show with us today, and he is a vision maker, an entrepreneur, a CEO mentor, and also an attorney. There you go. He slid that in at the end. And he's also a Wall Street Journal best-selling author as well. And he helps people with vision and building a compelling vision that can act as a magnet for your business, employees, customers, and profits. And he puts the proof in his newest book that's going to be coming out. We're going to be talking about today. And he talks also about how to control the vision killers. We all know those people out there, those vampires. And it's time for a new evolution in the way we create visions, from how to find my why to find our why. He has mentored CEOs to double and triple revenue and help those CEOs stuck at 6 to 7 figures, and it all starts in vision, which is one of my favorite things to do. His new book that's coming out is called Vision Maker, Your Vision Made Easy. Welcome to the show, James. How are you?
I'm terrific. Thank you very much, Chris. Great introduction. Maybe I ought to have you do all my introductions.
That's okay. People have talked about me for interest. They just want me to walk around like, hear ye, you know, one of those Roman emperor sort of announcers. Here enters Caesar Augustus into the room. Something like that.
I think you ought to do it like a racetrack, you know?
Like a racetrack? Jim's going around the bend, and
there you go.
He stands up to the plate. So welcome to the show. Give us your .com so people can find you on the internet, please.
Let's make sure everybody knows. You can go to vision-maker.net, and that's the place where you can see all about me. But if you're interested in the book that I'm going to be talking about today and the concepts in the book, go to visionmakerbook.com, and you'll find the book and the opportunities that'll be there to sign up. I'll let you know when it comes out in January.
There you go. And and by doing so, they can gain access to a community that you're building, possibly a free download. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it's true. I have a couple of things. I'm just really starting on this. I've never been one to be on a lot of podcasts and do this kind of thing, so it's kind of new for me. But I think it's a community that's just calling out to be built, where we can get together and collaborate on our visions in a way that just isn't available. One of the things I offer as a process that we can go through is to collaborate, because oftentimes we just keep it within ourselves, right? It's my vision.
Mhm.
This is my why. This is what I'm doing. So yeah, we're building a community. There's a lot of exciting things coming. I just like I get all fired up about it.
There you go. Well, we'll get fired up here on the show. Amazon Disco is available over there, so people can sign up and all that good stuff. So, give us a overall 30,000 view of the book and what it's going to entail.
Well, yeah, the long and short of it is that most entrepreneurs, business owners, they get stuck. They don't know what to do. I heard a fella who had a difficult last name too, Reitzheimer or something like that. I really liked him on your show,
Oh yeah.
and a couple of other people. So I've been recently kind of, oh, gee, this all ties together. I'm drifting a little bit around on this 30,000 point, view. But the truth is that I think that a lot of what we're struggling with has to do with vision, and we
Mm,
just closed ourselves down on this vision idea. We've it's been long enough that we've sort of been stuck here.
mhm.
Entrepreneurs, CEOs are finding themselves stuck because I was stuck. I recognized I needed to get out of that, and I worked out a process. I started saying, "Hey, do you want to try this?" And when my CEOs did, and they got great results, I thought, "Okay, we gotta share it." So that's really what the book's about, and what I'm trying to get across. Gives you examples, gives you stories, tells you the truth about where we are and where we need to be, and provides you with a 3-week process to put yourself through, that will help you to create a dynamic vision, one that doesn't sit in the desk drawer, right?
There you go.
Any
Or
level.
on the PR page. A lot of people put out vision
Or,
on PR page and then they never execute on it.
do you know how many CEOs I ask what their vision is? They can't even tell me.
99%.
It's high. It's really high, and they're stumbling through it. I go, okay, so
What's a
that's
vision?
obviously compelling.
So, they're probably like, "What's a vision?" That's what I get. What's a vision? I don't know.
Yeah, or I
This is
tried it.
something. This is something I had at a ayahuasca event. Is that the same thing in a sweat lodge? What's going on? Um,
Yes.
I had a vision one time.
Precisely.
It was half a bottle of vodka. It was
Yeah.
Tito's. There you go. Get a check from Tito's, will you? Anyway, so what is a vision? When we kick around this term, since a lot of people don't seem to know what it is. What is having a vision in the scope
I
of what
think
we're
from a
talking
business
about?
stand yeah, I
Yeah.
think from a business standpoint, that's the area that I focused on, but it can go much broader than me. I'm just a small wheel here in this bigger idea. But the concept of vision is something that you personally are attached to, that you feel deep down inside is something that's meaningful to you, and it gives meaning to what you're doing. So if
Mhm.
you're doing a business, why are you doing the business? Like this show, Chris, why are you doing this show? There, yeah, you can come up with, well,
Community
it's
service.
profitable. Yeah, and, being
The
of
judge
service
says
to somebody or
the
something like
judge says
that.
I have to actually. So
Yeah, but
it's
when you're at a flat line, when you're at a spot where you're stuck,
mhm,
really, that's when you start asking yourself, "Well, is it worth it?" And
mhm.
that's when we start recognizing, you know what? Why am I doing this? And when we get in touch with it, then suddenly we have a much more realistic viewpoint, uh, not only just of our why,
Mhm.
but a viewpoint that allows other people to join in, not just support you, but to join in to that vision.
There you
And
go.
that's when it gets really exciting. That's what
Yeah.
vision is to me.
Now I do this show for community service. The judge says I have to. A couple years I'll get the ankle bracelet off. So that's how it works.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. How far
uh
away are you from that?
I don't know. We've been doing the show for 15 years, but I don't know. I'll have to check with my parole agent. Uh, no, I love doing this show.
I know you
But
do.
I think you kind of identified it when you said knowing your why or knowing about the why. Because people need to, you can easily do stuff like, okay, so what are we doing today? Well, we're going to push the paper from this side of the desk to that side of the desk, and then tomorrow we're going to move it back to the other side of the desk. you know and whether you're a company or I think anybody really, having a vision of the long-term goals of what you want to achieve, why you're doing what you're doing, helps you understand how to do it better and what to do. Because if you don't understand your why, you're just wandering around going, what are we doing? I don't know. I did some accounting, gonna get my check, and I'm going home.
Yeah. In fact, I remember on a podcast, I listen to you often, and on a podcast, you said one time in your experience was you were an entrepreneur CEO, and sometimes people were just mailing, they were
Phoning
there
it in.
collecting their paycheck,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
then other times you have people that are really highly motivated. So
Mhm.
the question is why? Why do you have both of these types of people? And the answer, in my humble opinion, is that when they attach themselves to the vision of why you're doing this,
Mhm.
not just that they believe in it, but they're really attached to it, then suddenly they're full time in it. And it doesn't have
Mhm.
to be this idea that, well, I'm going to save the earth. It doesn't have to be such a vision. There's nothing wrong with that vision, but it doesn't have to be that vision. It can be something much more down to earth and pragmatic, but directly related to why it is that you want to influence the people, that are around you and supporting you. Find My Why is the first step. Simon Sinek was brilliant in writing the book. I think it's an awesome book. I refer to it often and give it to people, if they need to find their why. But the truth is, nobody cares about your why.
Mm.
So once you find your why, the evolutionary stage now that we need to go through is to say, okay, now that I really understand my why in leadership, how is it that this why that I have here is relatable to other people? And when you start connecting at that level by asking yourself, why do I care so much about it? And you get to that core fundamental reason why, then you'll find what other people also feel strongly about. And then you take phase two, which is to collaborate. And
Yeah.
when you collaborate, you start to get all kinds of people excited around you. It's not collaborating on how to do it. It's collaborating on the fact that you're doing it together. You're creating the vision together.
Mhm.
That's when it gets really on fire.
And this is the key to inspiring people. You talk about in the byline of your book, 3 weeks to creating a powerful vision that will inspire your team and ignite your business. And, you look at any great CEO, Steve Jobs, how he inspired people to, save Apple, to bring it back from kind of the edge when he came back, to build the iPhone. I mean, his vision for the iPhone was extraordinary because, you know, even up until the time they announced it, it still wasn't working. It wasn't working after he announced it
Right.
either,
Right.
on a consistent basis. And they spent, I think, another 6 to 9 months trying to firm it up. Um, the but his vision of inspiring people to go, we're going to move that mountain over there, and people are like, "How are we going to move that mountain?" I don't know. We're going to move it. We're going to figure it out. And so all through history, there are great leaders. You can say political leaders like maybe George Washington or other people who had visions. The people who are the framers of our Declaration. When you read their notes from the Federalist Papers, it's extraordinary the vision they had. Like you just sit and read it and just go, man, you guys saw 200, 300 years in the future. But they understand human nature doesn't change. And so having a powerful vision is kind of a core tenet, I think, of being a leader, of getting people to follow you, of getting people to follow your leadership, because people will buy into a vision. And if you don't have any vision as a leader, good luck getting people to follow you. That's my opinion.
I agree 100%. And what's really
Mhm,
interesting is that the people that you're mentioning
mhm,
seem to feel a bit extraordinary, don't they?
mhm,
A little bit like beyond us, a little bit bigger than I can think of myself. So I
mhm,
vision kill myself, right?
mhm.
Um, and it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't have to be that way if we start thinking in a little bit different way as to how we're going to approach the concept of vision. You see, this is a great time to segue into the vision killer. So when we're young, and I'll tell a story about this in a moment. But when we're young, we're very impressionable. A lot of things happen when you're young. You're a great visionary as a child. And then as you start to grow up, your parents do what? They start to tell you, well, you got to go make money. You got to go figure out something else. If you declare what you want to do, hey, I want to be a podcast host. Now, Chris, come on. Let's get a job that pays money, right? And so it's just our vision is crushed, and
Yeah,
so we don't pursue them.
yeah.
And we need to turn that around. Now
So
the
how do we
vision
fight off
killer,
these vision killers once
the
we identify
vision
them?
killer always is acting is talking about execution.
Mm,
Always. This is the extraordinary little aha I had. when we're talking to a vision killer, it's typically you don't have the money, you don't have the time, you don't have the people that somehow or another, this is in your way. That's all in execution. It's not in vision. What we have to do is we have to arrest them a little bit. We have to enroll that vision killer. Now, I'm a lawyer. So, Chris, I'm a great vision killer. I mean, one of the best. And so I had to learn how to do this. And it came out in a public event, very much, felt humility because my wife is a great visioner and she wanted to serve 1 million babies with her product. And, and I was always telling her, hey, protecting her like parents do to children. Hey, we might not have reached out there that hard, that far, that fast. Let's be patient. These are all vision killer things. So the way that we can control the vision killer is a simple phrase. Anybody, it works every time. You simply, when they say, hey, oh, you don't have the money, you simply say, that sounds like it's an execution. Play with me in vision for a minute. And I want you to use the word play.
Play.
Because it triggers in our mind, oh, you just want to play a little bit. So the doer doesn't feel like they have to immediately figure out how. It really works. It really is stunningly effective. I know because I had to do it on my own. I had to do it for me. So I know it works.
And there is a lot of vision killers. Entrepreneurs run into those a lot because usually they have this vision of, hey, I want to start a company and I think I got a product here that works. And people are like, oh, most businesses fail. Oh, you run out of money. Oh, what if you try and it fails? And then you waste all this time and maybe you quit your day job and then you're going to look foolish and everyone's going to go, there's that guy who failed, eh? So identifying the vision killers are really important. Maybe you have people in your office, when you set up a vision, they're just like, yeah, this isn't going to work. We're going to play with it a little bit, but we're just going to kind of appease the boss, but we really don't care. This isn't going to achieve anything. Those are people you got to watch out for as well.
You do. And in fact, I address that specifically in the book because that's a common issue, right? Is getting people enrolled in the vision. And the key component, I think, is I don't want to be involved in somebody else's vision. I want to be involved in a vision that maybe I have a part of too. That's why I keep pressing on this idea of collaboration. This is the enrollment function of a vision killer. The vision killer wants to protect you. That's your COO. They said, listen, you Mr. Visionary, don't get too far ahead of yourself, right? Because we got to practically implement this. The COO tells you that they're killing your vision. You know what visionary CEOs often tell me is, I can't get anybody to hear me. I want to get these things done and nobody executes on it.
Wow.
And you know what the doer says? The doer CEO says, I'm stuck. I mean, I've made about as much efficiency as I can. I can't think of anything new to do. Both sides of that need to start communicating in the level of a new way, a way to create that vision that sets aside our preconceived notions of how we're going to do business and starts that integral part of getting them a part of it. So what happens is we put a team together and we have that meeting. We have that really uncomfortable meeting where it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to do what the boss says I got to do, but I don't really believe in it. And you just say it. I bet you all are thinking, I'm just going to do what, the boss says to do just to do it, but we're going to put this in the drawer. How do we make it different? How do we make it personal to you? How do we collaborate on this vision in such a way that it becomes a part of you? Boom, it opens up and suddenly there's all this excitement and then it builds and then they're your biggest advocates and ambassadors. And once you do that, things start sailing really, really quickly. That's how some of my clients doubled and tripled their revenue, as you mentioned earlier. It's been incredible. And I'm not talking about 200 to 400,000. I'm talking about like 5 million to 10 and $15 million. It just happens. And these were companies where they were flatlined. They could not grow.
And that's really, kind of the secret to setting goals and setting them way out there, having a vision that is exciting, it's motivating, that people are like, hey, I want to be a part of this. I want to go do this. I want to,
Yeah.
this person is going places. And at companies where there have been visionary leaders like that, people are excited because, that people search for leadership. People leave companies over leadership. If they have bad management, bad bosses, people who don't lead, things are dead. And I think we've talked in recent shows about how, Gen Z kind of wants more. They want more vision. They want more something. They want to work someplace that's more compelling to them, that seems to serve a purpose and is purpose based, as opposed to just like, I want to push papers from here to there. You talk about AI. Artificial intelligence will make your company obsolete if you don't have a vision. What is that about?
It's kind of interesting, isn't it? So AI I think it's fantastic. A lot of people are discounting it right now or frustrated with it, but I think it's a really, really great way for us to become even more efficient at what we do, right? So
Mm-hmm.
as a born doer, I can see so many relevant ways in which I can improve the way I do things, the speed with which I do things to get things done, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
AI. AI can take what we do as a race, as a humanity, and do it faster, quicker, and better. And it's only going to get better and better and better and better as technology continues to improve.
Mm-hmm.
So where does that leave us? If your company is operating as a efficiency model and a computer can do it faster, quicker, better, where are you? You're going to go obsolete. It's going to be the person that has a vision of creating something that doesn't yet exist, that is going to have the marketplace. They're going to own it. They're going to be
Mm-hmm.
a part of it. It's like, remember the old Star Trek movies, like, before Steve Jobs, right? Spock, beam me up, Spock, right? All this crazy stuff that didn't exist. This
Yeah.
is where we need to go back to. In vision, we need to start going back to the idea that we create from nothingness. For 60 years, we've been in an improvement stage. How do we do it quicker, faster, better, more profitably?
Mm-hmm.
But we need to move back into that visionary space. And I'm not saying nobody does this, but the majority of business right now is on improving the customer relationship, customer service, the way in which we do it, how fast we deliver it, et cetera. So kind of like, instead of saying, I want my pizza in 30 minutes, which is no longer relevant, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of like, well, do you really want a pizza? Or how about something new that you might have delivered to your
Yeah.
house?
Yeah. Have a pizza with pepperoni on, or I was going to do
Oh,
pineapple.
that's
Piss them
original,
off.
Chris.
Yeah, I was going for pineapple, but it's Friday.
Yeah.
There you go. Piss them off. I've lost half
Get
the
you into
Italian
put
crowd
you
now.
into Hawaiian mode with a
There you
Hawaiian
go.
pizza.
Everybody knows pineapple is supposed to go on pizza. That'll start some fights out there. But you're right. AI is something that's definitely going to make things move faster, tighter. I mean, it's creating a new whirlwind of stuff. And so having a vision to drive people to and get them to do. So what can, if you're a CEO or an entrepreneur out there listening right now, what's the best tips or techniques to create a compelling vision and sit down and build one out?
First, you already said it, and I think it's great. You summarized it perfectly. Find out why you're doing what you're doing now, because there's a link in there as to why it is that it was important to you when you started. It may not be clear to you now because years later it's been frosted over, defrosted, frosted, defrosted. Who knows where you are in your process, right?
Mm-hmm.
But deep down inside, you started it for a reason. I started as a lawyer for a reason. I wanted to do something as a lawyer. And then after 35 years of being a great lawyer, a great trial lawyer, I can tell you that what I started out with wasn't quite what I was doing, right? Most of the time. I got my little bits and pieces, but most of the time I didn't. So when you identify why you began to do this and your why, then you continue to ask a little deeper question: is why is that important to me, and why would it be important to other people? That's the second step. Why is it important to other people? And I want you to think of a vision bigger than you and bigger than your client. Bigger than your client, which is hard for CEOs to do. This is where they stumble. They go, well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't care about elephants in Africa, is what one CEO told me. And I said, you know what? That's not what we're talking about. But why would it be more important to you and to others? Because if others are interested, they'll start advocating, even though you're not your client.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start collaborating. Now, I'm from a generation where it's my vision. This is my vision. This is my
My
mission. This
vision
is
or
my
the
goals.
highway.
Join me in my goals. And we need to move away from that. The young generations now, they'll get on the phone and they'll put an idea out there and they'll have 500,000 people responding to their idea.
Mhm.
Now, the difference between us and them is that they're very frustrated because many of them, I'm not saying all, but many of them see all this. They don't know what to do. They don't know the next step. They don't know how to
Mhm.
execute on it. A great idea. And so that just sits there, right?
Mhm.
Well, we're great executors on ideas. And so therefore what we want is to build in the vision portion of this. And so collaborating with other people and getting them together then creates answers to the impossible. And then the third is announce it to the world. Once you've got a vision that's attractive,
Mhm.
you've got to get it out there in as many different ways as you can, which is exactly why I'm sitting here instead of enjoying a nice drink over here on, on my boat in the afternoon on a
Ah,
Friday.
there you go. You forgave the boat to be on the show. There you go. That's
That's it.
that's that's some vision right there,
It's
or
a vision,
sacrifice or
baby.
commitment, one of the two. Uh, how flexible should your vision be, or should it be? Does it need to be an adapting vision? Is there a point where you need to modify your vision, and how do you recognize that point of like, well, let's tweak this vision a little bit, maybe making it bigger or smaller, or realigning it?
I think if we're open about it, our North Star, as one author wrote it, will tell us whether we're getting away from our vision or not.
Hmm.
But I don't advocate necessarily that you hold it so closely that it has to be your vision.
Hmm.
But I don't advocate that you move away from what it is you want to do. Steve Jobs would not have developed this if he had listened to everybody else, right? It would have been
Sure.
something different. And
Yeah.
so the leader has to enroll them in this bigger vision. And that's part of that vision killer portion of it, because almost all of your vision challenges will be in execution. The
Ah.
reason that Steve Jobs was so exalted for this is because he had a vision despite everybody telling him they couldn't do it, right? And then they
Mhm.
got it with two buttons. He says, "I want one button." You can't do one button, and then eventually they gave him one button, right? So it was his clarity of insistence in the execution phase. So the vision is not the same as the execution.
Mhm.
The vision doesn't have to be that compromised in order for you to have it. And it doesn't have to be achievable even in your lifetime. Ideally, it would be, but it doesn't have to be. It may be a
Mm.
goal that got more legs than you have lives.
There you go. Well, I've used all my 9 lives, so I'm out of lives. There you go. Do you have some, stories of, examples of 6 to 8 figure CEOs that created visions that resulted in, major revenue increases?
Yeah, sure. So one of them, nice guy, a painting contractor. So I use this one because who there's a lot of contractors out there that get stuck, right?
Mhm.
They can't grow, they can't get more business. This was a great example. His challenge was to keep people, because whenever business was good in the whole community, then all of the other painters would steal his painters away for short-term increased pay, and then his good workers would go away, and here has all this business. He didn't have any workers. He'd have to train new people. So the paradigm was, why would you want to stay with one contractor other than just the typical, hey, he pays me well,
Yeah.
or even longevity? What he came up with was, I really have a heart for them having not only just a place to earn their living, but I think they should be like a professional. They should
Mm.
be like treated like a professional. When they become an experienced painter, then they're teaching young painters. They're doing some other things besides just sitting out and doing the cutout on the trim. And so he developed like an institution, and I
Hmm.
can't tell you too much about it because he's my client. He was my client, and
Okay.
I don't want to reveal
Sure.
the competitive advantage. But here's the reality of it. He created an institution and created a system by which these employees were really, really motivated, and they
Mhm.
wanted to stay with him, and they wanted to grow with him. And soon he had so many employees that when the work came in, there was no problem. And then they started referring work into him. The employees started referring work into him of family members and friends and others that never happened before. And so ultimately what ended up happening was he doubled his revenue, and it was a substantial number.
Wow.
That's a great story.
That is an awesome story, especially when you can.
Let me give you a cool story, Chris. This is one that's really, it's not answering to your question, but I think it's a very powerful story.
Let's do it.
The story is of Nadia. So Nadia was born in Russia in the 90s, and historians will tell you that because of the collapse of at that time the Russian government, there was a lot of turmoil financially, and many of the people that lived in Russia were worried about how they were going to pay for things, and so there was a threefold increase in babies given up for adoption, and at the same time, about half of the adoptions would occur that had been occurring before. So Nadia was born into this environment, and it was very unlikely that she would be adopted. Interestingly, she was also confined to a bedroom, and it was called a bedroom because you were confined to your bed. And the reason for that was because she was born with no bones in her feet or her lower limbs.
Oh, no.
The probability of her being adopted and having a wonderful life, et cetera, and so forth, was pretty difficult to see. Impossible, some people would say. Yeah. This is the word that we're attaching. This is the word that we're attacking. This is the word we're changing. It's not impossible when we start a vision. As it turned out, she was adopted by a family in Baltimore, a wonderful family. They had 2 other healthy, normal children, and so she grew up a normal child. And that's a great story in and of itself. But when she jumped into the pool, she became an amazing swimmer. And I'm not talking about with prosthetics. I'm talking about no prosthetics, because ultimately they amputated her legs just below the knee, and she would wear prosthetics to walk around. But when she was in the pool, it was just her. And she became faster and faster and faster. And of course, won the Paralympics. At 17 years old, she was probably in the top 2 to 3% of swimmers in the world.
Holy crap.
For speed. Incredible story. And I think it was ABC. I better be right on that. They'll probably chase me down with
let them.
Some sort of spy bots or something. But anyway, whoever was interviewing her asked her, well, so, what are you thinking? And she says, I used to swim to show people that I could do it. She said, my mindset has changed. I now swim to show other people that they can do it. Wow. Now, that's not a new theme, but it's a very cool theme, right? It's what we really admire in people when they're doing something that's bigger than them, right? They're contributing back. Now, I want the CEOs, the visionaries, the people in listening to this podcast to think about this for a second, just 1 second. Imagine if she had made that declaration when she was 11, when she started swimming. Imagine the crew that would have wanted to follow her journey from year to year to year and broadcast it, the audience she would have received, the impact she would have had on the world, the way in which her ups and downs, her trials and her tribulations would have been exalted as wonderful. That is vision. That's Definitely. The story. That's what you want to do in your business. You want to have that moment where you're saying, listen, if right now, here, now, this is when we're going to do it. We're going to start doing it now, not after we've seen that it can be done. And so therefore we're going to brag about it.
Yeah. Vision inspires people. And when you inspire people, you get exemplary results out of them. You take things to the next level. Clearly. There's things that people do. They'll stay later. They'll work harder. They'll work smarter. They'll come up with innovations. You really, and sometimes setting it like a goal out there where it seems a little too unachievable, where it's like, I don't know if we can make this, helps get people to stretch and go to the next level. And it just makes all the difference when people are inspired. And when they're not, there's no vision. They're just dead inside. They're just like, what are we doing? We're just pushing papers back and forth on the desk here and waiting for 5 o'clock to collect the check.
You said something and it triggered for me. When we
I do that a lot with people, actually.
That's cool. When we can't see a goal, it's moving toward a vision.
Yeah.
If we can see how to do it right now, I'd tell you if I was mentoring you, I'd be saying, okay, so let's pick something bigger.
Yeah.
Go bigger yet. And another success story was a woman who has a firm, and she does really good work for people. And I irritated her because every time, well, we got
You
to go bigger.
triggered her?
We got to go bigger. We got to go bigger. And then
Gotta go bigger.
about 3 months ago, 2 months ago, she was telling a whole crowd of people that it was because I kept telling her to go bigger, that she's standing before them and she's in front of 800 people delivering this amazing presentation. And these were not people that she served. These were the people that were going to go out and serve others. So it
Wow.
was that huge of a vision. It was very cool.
That is awesome. So let me ask you this. There was one other question you had. There was um what about creating visions with this new sort of social justice themes that are really popular? Do you have to have visions that, like, hey, we're trying to make a lot of money and save the whales at the same time, or something? Do you really have to do those social justice sort of themes, inclusions now, or I don't know?
I
Do
think
they?
there's a place for them. I
Hmm.
truly would like to see vision. I'm working in the silo of CEOs, and the only reason I'm
Hmm.
doing that right now is because it's the one I'm the most familiar with. But
Hmm.
I see this implication in so many different areas of our lives. I believe right now, like, as a country, we are lacking visionary leadership right now. As a world, we seem to be struggling with leadership. We have a lot of divisiveness instead of leadership, instead of vision, instead of something that people are saying, hey, I want to support that, I want to grow to that. It's almost like, no, I don't want to be there, so
Hmm.
therefore I'm going to be over here. And if you're not leading, your following is the saying, right? um, the 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 idea of a social cause as a vision is a terrific one. I think that needs to be done. Does it have to be for business? No. I gave you an example of that. I'd say that 90%, 95% of the visionaries that I worked with,
Hmm.
and there's got to be over 100 CEOs now, probably 90% of them had no vision that was related to social justice. That's
Wow.
not what's necessary. If it is, and you really are attached to it, and it is directly relevant to your company, and people are feeling connected to it, then of
Hmm.
course you should be doing that.
Most
Tom's shoes
definitely.
is an example of that, where, hey, nobody should be without feet and without shoes, right? So you buy a pair, we're going to give a pair.
Yeah, those are some great ways. People love that stuff too. They really buy into it.
Because we believe in it. I don't want people to suffer. A good friend of mine, he it's no child should be without clean drinking water. I said, you're absolutely right on that. I didn't help him form that vision. He found it through an ordained, zap on the top of his head. That's a funny little. I don't think he'd mind my telling him it's Wells for Life. And he said he was over there in Uganda, I think it was. And he said God just told him, you've sold enough real estate. Now it's time for you to help some people.
Wow.
And so he converted his whole life into this vision of drilling wells for people in Uganda so that the children could have water for 50, 60, 70 years at 8 grand, 7 grand,
Wow.
some small amount of money.
That's really amazing, man. And I mean,
And
that's extraordinary. So there you go.
and he's such a fun guy. And yeah, if your listeners are interested in supporting that kind of a thing, tell them that Chris Voss sent you.
Tell them Chris Voss sent you. That's the way you do things around here. There you go.
Well, they'd listen to Chris Voss, sent you more than Jim Ballidis. So there you go.
Well, I'm sure they'll follow your lead there. So give us your final pitch out on the book and where people can find it, et cetera, et cetera.
I think I'm going to end with the Vision Killer story, because I think
Hmm.
this is where we play, almost
Hmm.
all of us, and it'll relate to you. My wife told me she wanted to go to this event. It was a CEO event for improving your business, and I've been to a bunch of them, right?
Hmm.
And when she told me, no, and I don't want to go, she says, "Oh, please, I want to go. I want you to support me. It's three
Yeah.
days, etc." That night, Chris, she was sitting at the dinner table. We're very involved parents. We have 3 children. They were going to all the things that kids do. Every weekend was occupied. I could swear when she told our kids at the dinner table that we were going to go to this event, and grandma was going to take care of those kids for 3 days. I could swear she looked over at me and she gave me a little wink. And I interpreted that to mean that what we were going to do is we were going to go down there. We are going to go for a couple of hours, right? And then we could go to it was in San Diego. We could go to the Coronado del Hotel and have a little drink on the sand.
I see
and,
where we're going. Yeah.
spend our weekend together. Well, it turned out to be no. She was enthralled in this thing. We stayed through cocktail hours and 3 days of this.
You bought it.
So she joined the organization. I did. We both improved. I got great information out of it. We both improved our business. No question about it.
Mm-hmm.
6 months later, she said, I want to go again. Fool me once, not twice. I called all my buddies. I said, okay, we're going to play golf at 1:00 every day for 3 days down in San Diego, some of the best courses in the world. Let's go down there and play. So I set it all up for us. And when we got there to the event, she insisted on sitting in the very front table right in front of the stage. And I'm like, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to step away from this at 12:00? At any rate, she's great individually and with small groups, but she never gets up to the microphone. And we had these people, Allison Maslin, it was a Pinnacle event, and Allison was on the stage and she was talking about vision. And asking people for their ideas on strategic vision and vision. And suddenly, while somebody was up at the microphone pouring their heart out, Nanette, my wife, stands up and starts to walk to the back of the room. And I thought, how rude to go to the bathroom at this moment. And to my surprise, I turned around to watch her. And as she was walking back, she made an immediate right turn and stood up behind the person at the microphone. And I thought, ooh, this is going to be interesting. And so when she got up to the microphone, a little red-chested right here, a little nervous, just full of emotion. She says, for the first time in my life, I feel supported in my vision. And her vision was to serve over 1 million babies.
Wow.
And I felt a stab in my heart, Chris.
Wow.
This is my best friend. This is my wife. This is the person I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be that person that no matter what is supporting her. Later, she comes back and I'm trying to make it about her and make sure she's all proud and happy, but inside I'm in turmoil, right?
Uh-oh.
Allison says, okay, pull out a piece of paper and now you're all going to write on this form your vision. I wrote down, be the best lawyer for my clients. I was done. Everybody else is feverishly writing around at the table. My table, there's 400 people in there. I look around the room, everybody's writing but me. At that moment, I realized not only was I killing my wife's vision, but I was killing my own. I had other dreams, other expectations, other things I wanted to do. I wanted to own more companies. I did not want to be tied to the lawyer's desk. I wanted to expand my vision of who I was and what I did. And so I right then and there committed that I was going to make a change, and I did. And that started me on the discovery of how to control the vision killer in me. And then when I learned how to do that, and started to practice it, I invited other CEOs that I knew, hey, do you want to see this? You want to try it? You want it, you want what's working for me? Yes, I do. Next thing you know, I'm mentoring CEOs. And that's how I've gotten to where I am now, which has forced me to write this book because it needs to be out there, and which I believe is just going to be the start. It's only the start of a conversation about, instead of it finding my why, it's a next level up. Okay, what's our why? Why are we doing this together? And how do we want to do it together in order for us to achieve things we cannot even see we could do right now? Create things that we do not see how we're going to do. That's how I'll leave it.
There you go.
Find the book at visionmakerbook.com. If you sign up for it, I'm not doing pre-sale right now. So if you sign up for the book, I'll notify you by an email when the book is getting ready to launch, and I'll let you know, and you can get it. And otherwise, if you go to vision-maker.net, you can book a 15-minute call with me, and I'll talk with you for free. I talk with anybody about vision. I love talking about vision. It's now my passion. I've gone ahead and retired all my clients to other people. I'm just talking about vision now. And amazingly, what I'm finding is a lot of problems to business owners are solved by vision.
There you go. And you've given us a spectacular vision. Thank you very much, Jim. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate you hearing me out and being a part of this and making it fun.
There you go. Order it up, folks. Get available on the pre-sale too. Vision Maker, your vision made easy. Thanks for audience for tuning in. We couldn't do it without you. You guys are the greatest audience in the world. Don't ever let anybody tell you otherwise. Damn it. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss won the tickety talkety. Sign up for the big LinkedIn newsletter, the 130,000 group over there on LinkedIn. Also go to chrisvossfacebook.com. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other and stay safe. We'll see you guys next time.